Hello everyone. In last video tutorial we have discussed the preparation of ethers. Just recalling the preparation. The first preparation is the dehydration of alcohol, and that is in the presence of protic acid at specific temperature of 413 Kelvin. That will yield you ether. The second method that we use is Williamson synthesis, and Williamson synthesis is a reaction of alkyl halide with sodium alkoxide to give you ether and sodium halides. I hope you have gone through the previous video. Now we are moving to the example 11.6, that is of your textbook, and it says the following is not an appropriate reaction for the preparation of tertiary butyl ethyl ether. See, the reaction is given and the reaction itself says that they have taken C2H5ONa. How you name it? It will named as sodium alkoxide. So which alkane is present? C2H5, that means 2 carbon, that is ethane. So alkoxide, it will be ethoxide, and the name will be sodium ethoxide. So the name will be C2H5ONa, the name will be sodium ethoxide. When it is reacted with this, you are going to get this compound. Is this a correct reaction? What do you think? So it says the major product of the given reaction is 2-methyl prop 1-ene. How? This what you have learned in the previous video lecture. See, when you are using tertiary alkyl halide with primary sodium alkoxide, what you are going to get is a alkene. Okay, so it is written here. Let me show you. It says if a tertiary alkyl halide is used, an alkene is the only reaction product and no ether is formed. Okay, so why it is so? Because in this reaction the elimination competes over the substitution. This is the reason. Okay, so the reason is asked there why it is so. Okay, and write a suitable reaction, that is later one. What would be the major product? So this is the reason. It is because the sodium ethoxide is a strong nucleophile as well as a strong base, and thus the elimination reaction predominates over a substitution. So what happens if you wanted to prepare your tertiary butyl ethyl ether? In that case, you need not to take tertiary halide, but you need to take tertiary alkoxide. That is what I have explained you in the previous video. So if you are taking tertiary alkoxide with primary halide, what you are going to get, this Na goes with Cl, giving you minus NaCl, and this the whole part CH3CH2 joins with O as a bonding and giving you ether. Okay, so let me show you the flow chart that is I have shown you in the previous video tutorial. So this is all about Williamson synthesis. In the primary halide you can get the symmetrical and unsymmetrical ethers, but if you take this secondary and tertiary halides, then the alkene will be the product. What if you need to have the secondary or tertiary ethers? That could be used the substituted alkoxide. That means if you wanted to have the secondary ether as a major product, then what you need to take is secondary halide, and if you wanted to have third tertiary ether, then you need to take the tertiary alkoxide, substituted alkoxide. I hope this is clear. Let us move. Moreover, this Williamson synthesis is also very important. Major importance of this reaction is that phenols are converted to the ethers by this method. In this, phenol is used as a phenoxide moiety. Okay, so let me show you one reaction that will clear how Williamson synthesis is used for converting phenol into ethers. So as you can see on your screen, this is phenol, and when phenol is treated with NaOH, 6 to 8% of NaOH, what you are going to get is a sodium salt of phenol, and that is called sodium phenoxide. It is just like a sodium alkoxide, sodium ethoxide, and we have similar compound with phenol, we call it sodium phenoxide. When it is treated with methyl chloride or chloromethane, what you are going to get is this Na and Cl comes together minus NaCl, CH3 attached with O, and that comes as N-sol, or we call it as methyl phenyl ether. Also, if you react this sodium phenoxide with ethyl chloride, then let me put O. This is OC2H5. This Na and Cl comes together minus NaCl, and this C2H5 will be attaching with O, giving you phenitol, or we call it as ethyl phenyl ether. Okay, so it is written here that these phenols are converted into ethers by this Williamson synthesis. Okay, so this is how it is being converted. Now moving to one more topic, we are covering physical properties of ether, and it is very easy. It says the CO bond in ether are polar, and thus ethers have net dipole moment. Now, why it is so? See, they are talking about this CO bond, okay? And similarly, it will be C2H5, or if this side if you see, it will be H5C2, okay? So actually this COC bonding is there. Why so? Because this, if you talk about the electronegativity, okay, oxygen is having more electronegativity than the carbon, okay? So there will be a polarity, there will be a difference in the electronegativity, and that is the reason the bond becomes polar. Oxygen with partial negative charge and the carbon with partial positive charge, which is giving rise to the dipole moment, and this is the reason it is written that ethers have net dipole moment. Further, it says the weak polarity of ethers do not appreciably affect the boiling point, which are comparable to those of the alkanes of comparable molecular masses, but much lower than the boiling point of the alcohols. That means if you compare your similar compounds, I mean similar compounds in the sense the compounds which are having almost identical mass or comparable masses, okay, so these are the three compounds which have the comparable masses: N-pentane, ethoxyethane and butane-1-ol, then you can see there is no much difference between this pentane, this alkane, and ether. But there is a much difference because this is very close, 307, that means again it's 308, this is 309, okay, so only there is a difference of only 1 degree. But look at this is 390 Kelvin, so 390, so it is again a bigger difference, almost 81 Kelvin you can say, Okay, so why it is so? The large difference in the boiling point of the alcohol and ether is due to the presence of the hydrogen bonding in the alcohol. So that is the reason which is actually responsible, because the hydrogen bond is comparably more stronger than the bond which is present in the ether. So you need more amount of energy to break the bond if you want to break. Okay, now the next paragraph, it is written the miscibility. Now before proceeding, you need to understand what is miscibility. So miscibility is like if you are adding two solvents together and you cannot separate these two solvent by distinct boundary, they are called miscible in each other. Let's say if you are taking 50 ml of ethanol and 50 ml of water, what you are going to get mixture of 100 ml, that is water is to ethanol 50 is to 50. But in that mixture you cannot separate two different layers because they are miscible to each other. Okay, that means cannot be separated by distinct boundary. So again, ethers with water resemble to those of the alcohol of same masses. That means ether are more soluble in water. That is what they wanted to say. Now both ethoxyethane and butane-1-ol are miscible to almost the same extent. That means if you are taking butane-1-ol and if you are taking ethoxyethane in a separate beaker, let's say 7.5 gram and 9 gram per 100 ml of water, okay, it will show almost same miscibility, same solubility in the beaker. Well, when you talk about alkane, it is essentially immiscible. That means if you add pentane, normal pentane in the water, what you are going to get? You are going to get two different layers. Water, one is a water layer and the other is a pentane layer. Now why it is so? This is due to the fact that just like alcohol, oxygen of ether can also form the hydrogen bond with the water molecule. Okay, so that's the reason. This is how it is formed. So that's all about today. In upcoming video lecture, we'll talk about the chemical reaction. So I request you all to go through the video. If you have a physical copy of your textbook, please read the chapter, start reading the chapter. Thank you. Thanks for watching this video. Stay tuned for more videos.